was all centered. Now it's not. Oh, okay, we're okay. Hey there, welcome back to the studio. I'm Joni, and today we are talking all about flat lays. That's right, you got the camera overhead, you got a flat surface, and you want to photograph something on it. I've got 5 easy tips to up your flat lay game, and so if you stick around, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Welcome to my channel. I'm Joni Simon. We're here in my studio. I'm the food photographer, just sharing what I happen to know with you guys in hopes that it will help you in your photographic journey, whether that be food, whether that be products, whether that be people. There's always something to learn and something fun with photography. So first of all, what is a flat lay? Well, that term, I believe, comes out of the editorial world when you're talking about looking through a magazine and you see all of the items all arranged on a flat surface shot overhead. It's just a really fun way to show off your food from an overhead perspective. So first things first, when setting up a flat lay, it is imperative to think about your surface. So you can see here today, we are working on this marble surface, which this is actually just a laminate. This is not actual marble because girlfriend ain't got a budget for actual marble, but you could do actual marble. I've just found that I actually did buy a piece of marble once, but it was so heavy that it was impossible for me to move around. So I really like laminate surfaces, lightweight surfaces that just look like either marble or wood or whatever the vibe is you're going for. I definitely recommend something clean and simple that's not going to overpower your subjects, because in a flat lay, the background is typically a big part of the composition. So to have something really busy and loud can really distract from whatever you're trying to express. Now, as far as where to get backgrounds, I have gotten a number of them actually from these people who have an online store for professional food photography backgrounds, but I'm going to tell you they're not cheap. So before you run out and buy one of those, just, get a couple shoots under your belt. Make sure you've got the money to pay for it. But one of my favorite cheap ways to get a good backdrop is to go to a place that produces laminate countertops. So this is usually going to be in some sort of industrial park. This is not going to be like the laminate store. This is whoever's supplying those guys. And so I went down to my local countertop supply company here in Phoenix. I'm sure they've got one in your town as well. And just got the scraps because they had these left over, and he sold these to me for 10 bucks. Now, granted, he was probably, he was going to throw these away, so he's making quite a profit, but 10 bucks versus the 180 that I pay for the professional food photography backdrops, well, I would say that's a deal. So I will link all those details below, as well as some other places that I like to get some good photography backdrops. So tip number 2 is to mount your camera instead of freehand shooting it. Now, what are you going to need for that? Well, it is going to cost a little bit of money. Depends on how much you want to spend. I personally love using my C-stand here. What I do is I mount my camera. I've got it overhead. I can move it this way and that way. I can articulate it. I can change it. It's fantastic, and it's heavily weighted at the bottom so that my camera won't fall over. You can also get some really great tripods. Manfrotto makes an amazing one that has an articulating arm that comes out and can go overhead. Tons of food bloggers use that. A lot of people making tasty videos use that. I will link it below. But the great part about having your camera mounted is that it stays in place so that you can really study the image, make decisions about where you've placed everything, make those little changes, and then shoot the same exact image over and over again, just with those little tweaks, because there's inevitably just little details that you want to change, little things you want to move. And if you're not worried about holding the camera still or holding it in a specific place, well, that's just one less thing to worry about, right? 2, when you have your camera mounted, you can use a lower shutter speed, because for me, I've got a certain amount of shake, and so I need the higher shutter speed in order to accommodate for any movement that might be going on as I'm holding the camera. But if I've got a firmly mounted camera on a C-stand or a tripod, I can use a lower shutter speed because there's not as much shake going on there, right? Makes sense? So if I'm using natural light, I can use a lower shutter speed and get a brighter exposure and get exactly what I'm going for. And now number 3, along those same lines, what a C-stand can do or a tripod can do is make sure that when you are shooting overhead, you have that lens completely flat to the surface that you're looking at, right? It's not at an angle, it's not tilted. Granted, you can fix those things in post, but it's easier if you just shoot it right the first time. And so you just make sure that this is completely flat, completely level, so that you are getting a true and beautiful, clean flat lay. And now this fourth tip is something that actually I've really only started to recently incorporate in flat lays, because it just, I don't know, makes it a more interesting picture, is to feel free to go outside the frame, okay? So for example, I'm celebrating 100 subscribers here on YouTube. Thank you to you first 100. You guys are awesome, and hopefully we'll find hundreds more of other food photography enthusiasts here on YouTube. But you can see all of my pomegranate seeds are all nicely within the frame. But what might be more interesting then is to take the other half of the pomegranate and, you know, just throw it in along the edge, and you're only capturing part of it, but that leads the mind to think, oh, there's all sorts of other things going on outside this frame, right? We take the busted up open half. Cute. I made a mess with this. Amazingly enough, I didn't get any on myself. Well, yet. Video's not over yet. But you start to use the edges of the frame, and not only does it just add more interest to the overall image, but then it sort of makes the mind think, oh, there's like a whole scene going on around here, and I'm just happening to peer into this one little piece of it, which just tells the story better. So feel free to go outside the frame. And then we added the knife, and that's when we went from like a fun celebration of 100 subscribers to some sort of like Dexter scene. Oh well, it's art. And then tip number 5 for making your flat lays just a little more interesting is consider the aperture. So typically when you're doing a flat lay, you are gonna want an aperture that is like 15 or 16, something that you're gonna have a wide depth of field on, right? Because you wanna be able to capture everything that's in that scene. That makes sense, right? Just if that doesn't make sense, replay it, think about aperture, and you'll be with me. But something that can make things really interesting or exciting is using a more narrow depth of field and very specifically focusing on one level of heights. Let me show you what I mean. So I've just hiked up my C-stand here, and you can see we've got our little 100, and I'm actually gonna spread all of these out. Ooh, we're making a mess today. We're making a mess. All right, and then I've got a tiny stool, because you know, what studio is complete without a tiny stool? The things you can buy at Hobby Lobby. So we've got all of those scattered here, and bring in tiny stool, all right. And then I'm gonna center that. And now what you're seeing is we have a major difference in heights, right? We've got the pomegranate seeds on the base here, and then we've got this. I'm gonna pull a plate in over, so like this, and then maybe, no, we needed a different plate. See, this is when the editing process comes into place. I'll be back. I think I'd have the right plate. I mean, I have like a million plates around here. Ay, where's my little white plate? Oh, let's use this. Clean? I don't know. It's usually a lot of uncleaned dishes. All right. So I've got this little, ooh, that's fun. That's fun. Let's do them on a, oh, there you go. This is exciting. So this is where you have fun and play with it. But we've got our pomegranates all scattered. We could scatter more. So those are kind of like our little background, right? Telling the pomegranate story. All right, pull you little guys out. There we go. Get it all kind of balanced, but not too balanced so that it looks perfect. Perfectly imperfect is what we're going for today. All right, that looks great. And then what I can do is throw this guy onto the plate. Okay, you're like, Joni, this is not epic or exciting. All right, and so now what I'm gonna do is I've got it at F16. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that down to F2.8. Super crazy. All right, and then make some adjustments for our overall exposure, adjust the ISO, adjust our shutter speed. There we go, proper exposure there. So now if I throw it on, you can see our original focus is now shifted because we have that pomegranate up a little higher. And so if we just adjust our focus just like that, super interesting, right? A little more exciting because you're not seeing the stool, obviously, but we can see that pomegranate, and then we've got all those little seeds just kind of radiating out. Now, if you wanted to, you could also try the, ooh, see, who needed the plate? Not me. That's exciting too. So that's where you can have a lot of fun, make a flat lay just a little more exciting by playing with the aperture. It is possible. So Hopefully you found this video helpful. Hopefully you're inspired to do some flat lays. If you do, go ahead and tag me on Instagram. I'm at The Bite Shot. I would love to see the work you are doing. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, anything, just ask. I always love to hear from you guys. Such a fun group here on YouTube and over on Instagram. And so with that, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because I'll be back. I don't know when, but I'll be back with some more tips and I can't wait to share them with you. So hope you guys have a fabulous day. I hope you get behind the camera. Definitely stay out of trouble and I'll see you soon. Okay? Bye. So the inevitable story always is that as soon as I'm done shooting, then I keep playing with things just a little bit more because you just never know what might emerge. And I just had a moment of brilliant inspiration. So if you looked at the thumbnail picture, now you see how I did it. We've got our pomegranate right here, and I just stacked it on these little guys which hide underneath it. So if you are overhead, you can't see them.